So now that Khamzat Chimaev just admitted on national television that he missed weight on purpose for the Nate Diaz card, I feel like we should revisit this and I can explain to you exactly why this happened, because I was the one who called this and I took a bunch of flack. Remember? Dana called Pat Miletich an absolute idiot, and then he called Schaub an idiot, and I had also said it, and so everybody in my comments was all, didn't you hear what Dana said? They were very mean to me. And you want to know what happened? It hurt my feelings. Not really. Actually, it just made me want to yell at the people in the comment section because I knew I was right. I was certain I was right. 98%. And now that we know I was right, we're going to revisit exactly what I said so that everyone can understand the plan behind it, because Khamzat just directly said I missed weight on purpose because people told me to and they had a plan, etc. And so since he's now admitted it, I'm going to tell you what the actual plan was so that everybody can get on the same page and you will understand exactly why I knew, and you'll understand why the UFC made him do it. Anyway, we'll talk about that. And then also, we got one other story that seems rather notable. If you were a person who hated Conor McGregor and you was like, you know what, Conor probably committed that assault in Miami. Oh, no, he won't. And here's the thing. When you hear a story come out, right, especially that kind of story, you know, the old Me Too, it's important to go like this first. What's that guy's net worth? What? What's that guy's net worth? Oh, why? Because a rich guy is not capable of graping a woman? No. Because the likelihood that it's someone who's trying to get at his money is 150,000 times more likely if the guy has a lot of money than if he doesn't. Oh, got it. Right. So you're just talking about data points to evaluate the credibility of a case like that. Exactly. And so, like, at this moment, I would say, have you subscribed to Jesse on Fire's channel? Why on earth would that be relevant? Because it's a proven fact that people who watch his content who have not subscribed are also 100 times likely, more likely to either be the perpetrator or, in some terrible cases, the receiver of an assault. They get graped. Where'd you get that data? Right there. Same place I knew about Khamzat Chimaev. It sounds made up. Yeah, I know. And also, people who don't like the videos, it increases their chances by 5. 5 times more likely. Yeah, all I have to do is click a button in both cases. They just subscribe and like, and it goes like that. So, anyway, so now, though, let's get to the main event. The main event of the evening. So, let's talk about this really quick, and then we'll certainly save some time to gloat. So I said, hey guys, listen, I feel pretty confident that, that these guys had Khamzat miss weight on purpose. And so,
I didn't make weight, and everyone speak about I didn't make weight, once in my life. And there was some plans to do that way. It's not my plans, but I can't say everything here, and he didn't make
so let's
weight.
just, one more time. He said there were some plans there. Not my plans. Only time I've ever missed weight. Not my plans. I can't say anything here. I might be under an NDA, but the whole thing is we don't really understand how NDAs work in Chechnya. I know they gave me a lot of extra money and told me to sign that I'll never talk about this publicly, and that's why I'm saying I can't talk about this publicly, but the one time that I missed weight, it was not my choice, and it was someone else's plan. I just want you guys to know that. That's the only time I've ever missed weight. Definitely not my plan. Let's listen again.
And everyone speak about I didn't make weight, once in my life. And there was some plans to do that way. It's not my plans, but I can't say everything here, and
I can't say everything here. So I guess, what we could call that is a full throttle admission that he missed weight on purpose and it was someone else's plan. Scott, whose plan could it have been? UFC, Dana? Oh, just UFC and Dana? How about Hunter? Why are you throwing Hunter in this? Well, I think it's important for everyone to remember what happened here. So I'm going to walk you through a chain of events that led to Khamzat Chimaev missing weight on purpose for the Nate Diaz card and explain to you exactly why this happened. So if you guys recall, it's a long sordid tale. Nate Diaz was in a contract negotiation. He had one fight left on his deal. Now, he had been negotiating with Hunter. If you guys don't know this, Hunter Campbell is the one who negotiates the fights. Negotiates the contracts. Okay. Dana does not do this generally. Hunter does it. He had been negotiating with Hunter back and forth. And all Nate wanted was to get the last fight on his deal done. He wanted out because he wanted to go do the Jake Paul fight. That is why. We all know that. And we know why. He made a fortune. So every time they offered him a new fight, they offered him more money. And he was like, I don't want the money. I just want out. I don't want the money. I just want out. I don't want the money. I just want out. I don't want the money. I just want out. So then what happened is Ariel, I believe it was Ariel, someone, I think Ariel, looked at Nate's contract and said, oh, you don't even need to fight. You're going to be out of your contract in October anyway because of your sunset clause. Now, Hunter obviously knew that he had a ticking time bomb in there, which was the sunset clause, where if Nate didn't fight, it didn't matter. He was going to be technically out of contract anyway in October. So the exact day that got announced, by the way, guys, Nate Diaz doesn't have to fight because he is going to be out of his contract in October anyway due to the sunset clause. That day, Yahoo News ran a story that said that Hunter Campbell contacted us and let us know that Nate Diaz will be fighting Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 279. And they said that because Nate had been going public saying, I'll fight anyone, I'll fight anyone, I'll fight anyone, I'll fight anyone. And so they called, and he said both sides have verbally agreed to the fight, okay? So as soon as I read Hunter Campbell, I was like, gamesmanship. This is a negotiating tactic. So Hunter, what he did is he called Khamzat. He said, hey, you want to fight on, whatever this was, like September, blah, 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 of 2022 against Nate Diaz. And what do you think? I'm the Wolf brother. I fight anybody. Boom. Verbal agreement. He announced it to Yahoo. Nate now, on the same day, because he's trying to A, drown out the sunset clause thing, and B, he's like, oh shit, he's going to figure this out because Nate clearly doesn't have an attorney who's looked through his contract because he keeps on trying to negotiate with us when he could just sit out until October. Now he's going to know that he could just wait. And so let's at least get him into a fight beforehand, and let's do the play that we normally do, which is devalue him before he leaves the UFC. That is the standard operating procedure. So they announced the Khamzat fight for two reasons. Because A, if he's actually going to take a fight before he goes, they want him to be against someone that he gets smashed by normally. Also, it was a bluff. They didn't think that Nate would actually take that fight because everyone turns down Khamzat. Nate is insane and also not scared of anyone. So Nate agrees to fight. They signed bout agreements. And so you're going up to UFC 279, right? And you look at the fight card leading up to that, leading up to the card, and there was no one on that fight card. Chael made a video about it and was like, so, because I had said I had been making videos. I was like, this is like, they never thought that Nate was actually going to take this fight. Look at this fight card. There's no one on it. There's no one on this fight card. And the reason they did this is because they thought Nate was not actually going to fight. Okay? They didn't want to put anyone else on this fight card that was going to cost money or do whatever because they thought they were going to shut the whole fight card down. But they're like playing a game of chicken with Nate. And once they finally got close enough, they're like, all right. And so they start putting people on the card. They got Tony Ferguson against the China dude. They put Daniel Rodriguez against Kevin Holland. Not super expensive guys, but now they got a card that they can sell. And it was super close to when the thing was actually going to go off. So then in the MMA media, the conversation starts being like, dude, this is insane. Like, why is the UFC doing this? Well, because we all knew why they were doing it. They wanted him to lose. They wanted Nate to lose. And so they're going to devalue him on his way out. So everybody starts talking. They're like, this is wrong. Like, this is unethical to put Nate Diaz in there against Khamzat. Now, do you think Nate Diaz is hearing that? Nate told them he would fight Francis Ngannou. Okay? Nate doesn't care. He's like, I'll beat anybody. I don't care. So you can't rely on Nate to make any decisions that are going to, make any sense other than he's like, I'll fight anybody. I don't care. And so as the MMA media starts talking like this is unethical, now I personally was like, how is it unethical? Nate's his own man, dude. He knows who Khamzat is. Bisping said the same thing. Both of us, I mean, you know, I'm just remembering who else kind of like agreed on whatever. We were like, dude, he's making his own choices. He's choosing to fight Khamzat. That's fine. But the UFC was getting hammered in the media by most people. So as you get up to the actual event, the UFC realizes, okay, Nate Diaz is one of the most popular fighters in the history of the world. Why? Why? Because he's himself, like, what's the right way to put this? He's like, you know, I don't know how to say this without it sounding like I'm insulting Nate when it's the opposite of what I mean. But people love him because he's just kind of like, Whereas if you threw him into that environment and he got hurt, okay, he gets hurt in the Khamzat fight. Let's just say he gets taken down and his face smashed. Nate is the toughest motherfucker on earth, right? Is he going to get knocked out easily? No. What is the most likely scenario when he fights against Khamzat Chimaev? Okay, Khamzat's going to take him down and he's going to punch him 10,000 times. Nate's just going to keep on coming back in and it's going to get ugly. Ugly. And so if that happens, which is by far the most likely scenario for that fight, how does that reflect on the UFC? The backlash was going to be fucking biblical. They got trapped into that fight, negotiating against Nate, and when they actually ended up there, they were like, what? Dude, this is not good. We're in serious trouble here. We got to switch things up. So they go to Kevin Holland. There's two people that were in on it. Holland and Khamzat. Those are the two co-conspirators that are in on it with the UFC because Holland had to agree to a catch weight, you know, like Daniel Rodriguez, he's going to take the fight. You know, Jesus, how am I forgetting this fucking guy's name? He got choked out by Khamzat also. He had to agree to fight against Rodriguez instead of Ferguson. Jesus, I'm embarrassed, dude. Anyway, he dresses great. He's my favorite China dresser. They knew that those guys were going to take the fights, and Nate not in on it. Nate not in on it. Okay? Khamzat, Kevin Holland on the inside. They got paid a shitload of extra money to, you know, Kevin Holland is going to take the Khamzat fight. Khamzat is going to miss weight on purpose, and he is going to end up fighting Holland, and Tony Ferguson is going to end up fighting against Nate Diaz, and then China and Daniel Rodriguez are going to fight. Two people in on it. Kevin Holland, Khamzat Chimaev, and all of it is to avoid the outcome of Nate Diaz getting taken down, smashed into oblivion, and the UFC taking biblical backlash from the public, the media, and everyone else for them putting Nate Diaz into the cage against a guy like Khamzat, where it's like, dude, Nate Diaz is one of the most beloved guys in the fucking world. And they would have been like, that's your thank you to Nate Diaz after 20 years of him blood, sweat, and tears in the octagon. He wants to go out on his own, and your thank you to him is you let him get his face crushed by that Chechen animal. You guys are fucking bad people. We've always defended you guys are bad fucking people. The PR was going to be an absolute biblical nightmare. And so they did this shakeup, and I knew that's what they were doing. I fucking knew it. I called it. Everyone said I was crazy. They did all this like fake fight stuff. I couldn't figure out what was going on. But then Khamzat misses weight by 8 pounds. This guy's never missed weight before in his entire life. He misses by 8 pounds. And there's reports of people saying that he was out in public in Vegas just eating all kinds of food at like a fucking buffet. The fix was in, obviously, and I knew it. And that was why. Now, anybody who tells you there's a different reason, trust me, they're wrong. That is why they were doing it. That's why they did it. And listen, don't call me crazy when I tell you there's a conspiracy. Everybody's still sitting there wondering, what about Masvidal and Colby? The jury's out. Unless Masvidal takes the charge, what's up with their court case, you know? I know things you motherfuckers don't, okay? I really do. Data points as it relates to Conor McGregor's case. That's where we're going to start, okay? And then we're going to go through the story, and then we're going to do the Khamzat one because it's a much more detailed story, and If I remember, I'll timestamp it. But Conor McGregor will not face charges following the sexual assault allegations in the NBA Finals. See, we could read this, insufficient evidence, won't be charged with any crimes. I think the main thing to look at here is that Conor is 35. I think that's important. He called it a shakedown. And I say that's important because really want him to fight. Really want to see him fight before he no longer can. So anyway, after a thorough review or investigation, including a review of videos and interviews with eyewitnesses, the authorities have concluded there is no case to pursue against my client. Okay. Weird. Yeah. So, listen, she said that he pushed her into a bathroom stall, violently kissed her, forced her to perform, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. It's one of those things where we're looking at data points. This thing just happened to the Dodgers pitcher, Trevor, whatever. And with him, whatever. I wasn't paying attention to that case until the girl got caught overtly lying and targeting him. So, but in the case of Conor, it's like, well, that girl at least was a hot blonde girl that you could imagine that the Dodgers pitcher might have wanted to potentially have sex with. There's that, right? In Conor's case, it was like, well, let me get a look at that girl. Let me get a look at her. It was like, she doesn't look like a girl that Conor would like to have sex with. It's like, no, she really doesn't. I don't think Conor would hit that for free, even on as much gayo as possible. Like, I don't think there's a world where Conor's like, listen, I need to get my willy wet. That's the girl that it's happening with under any circumstances, as opposed to all of these hard 10s that are all willing to go home. Nah, I think I want this girl. Soon as I saw the video, I knew it was a lie instantly. I knew it was a lie. I'm not someone who just thinks that Conor has done some crazy things, dude. You get that guy, and he is a live wire. But when it comes to a thing like that, it's just kind of like a common sense thing. Why would he take that huge girl that doesn't really look like any other girls that he's dated, even in addition to the, to the weight thing? Just doesn't seem like it's tight. So I didn't believe it, and it looks like that was a good assumption because it's not going to court. Also, the girl who was representing that girl also had a history of representing other girls who had taken people like Neo and Usher and a bunch of other guys to court saying the same types of things, and all of the guys were all, I don't even know what you're talking about. I had no relationship with this girl. This is a complete lie. She had gotten exposed a bunch of times. I'm shocked that she's still allowed to practice law. Anyway, but I might be wrong on that one. Highly possible I'm wrong on that one. Anyway, I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. I love you. I even love you guys who talk shit, dude. I'm just, talking shit back now because I was right. So love you guys. Bye-bye.